War has never brought about a win-win situation. It always comes at the cost of sacrifice and suffering. This truth is deeply embedded in my family's history. From the Civil War to the two World Wars, and then to the Vietnam War, each conflict has left an indelible mark on my family. These historical events not only shaped individual destinies, but also reflected the profound impact of war on ordinary families. The Civil War, immigrant dreams, and broken hopes. The story begins with my husband Laird's great-great-grandfather on his maternal side. In 1861, he and his newlywed wife lived a comfortable life in Germany and had just welcomed their first child. However, whether drawn by the U.S. government's promise of 300 acres of land or for some other reason, they embarked on a journey to the new world with their infant. Unfortunately, this land did not bring them the stability they had hoped for. The young father was soon drawn into the Civil War and perished in the infamous Battle of Gettysburg. His young wife, left alone, had to raise their child by herself, relying on money sent from Germany. The brutality of war shattered their dreams and exacted a devastating price. World War I. Silent smoke and untold stories. Laird's grandfather served as an infantryman in World War I and fought on the battlefields of Europe. Yet, he never spoke a word about the war. As a child, Laird was curious about his grandfather's experiences and longed to hear war stories, but his grandfather never indulged him. Instead, he would sit in silence, chain-smoking cigarette after cigarette. Those unspoken stories were perhaps the deepest scars the war had left on him. World War II. A young marriage and a secret goodbye. During World War II, Laird's father became a pilot. Upon graduating high school, he immediately entered flight training in preparation for battle. Laird's mother, his high school sweetheart, decided to marry him before he left. However, due to wartime restrictions, all official marriage offices were closed. They had to travel to a small rural church, where a minister officiated their secret wedding. Laird's mother even made a black suit for herself, abandoning the traditional white wedding dress, a decision she later admitted was one of her greatest regrets. Shortly after the ceremony, Laird's father was deployed to Hawaii, waiting for orders to head to the Pacific Front. The shadow of war left their future uncertain and filled with anxiety. My family, land reform, and the double blow of military service. In 1952, my father was just 16 years old and studying at a prestigious maritime academy in Shantou. Influenced by propaganda, he secretly enlisted in the military without informing his family. He traveled by train and on foot with his unit to Qingdao, a coastal city near Korea, close to the front line. However, because of his young age and flat feet, he was transferred from the army to the navy. Meanwhile, my grandfather suffered immense grief at home. His eldest daughter had suddenly died from tetanus, and now his most beloved son had disappeared. During the land reform movement, my grandfather became a target for public struggle sessions. He suffered severe mental distress and ultimately took his own life by drowning. When my father received the news, he couldn't even openly mourn. All he could do was write home and tell the family that he was doing well. The shadow of war altered his youth forever and left his family in ruins. The Vietnam War, anti-war ideals, and escaping fate. In 1969, Laird graduated from UCLA with honors and subsequently received a federal scholarship. He was determined to become an astronomer. However, his fate was nearly altered by the Vietnam War. In the military draft lottery, he drew number 3, meaning he was likely to be drafted. Laird was a staunch opponent of the war, which led to significant conflict with his father. Ultimately, he chose to join the National Guard, serving for 6 years to avoid being sent to Vietnam. Despite this, the experience made him deeply aware of the absurdity and brutality of war. Now, with today's global tensions, he worries about the future of his own 19-year-old son. The cost of war: corpses and broken families. Historians may give war a grand narrative, but in reality, its costs are borne by ordinary people. Whether voluntary or forced, the fate of those who serve in war is mercilessly rewritten. The fame of heroes may be built upon piles of corpses, but behind every war lie countless broken families and immense suffering. From the Civil War to the Vietnam War, my family's history bears witness to the cruelty and devastation of war. War has never brought true victory. It only leaves behind endless pain and regret. These old photographs do more than record the past of my family. They serve as a reminder of the cost of war. War has no winners, only sacrifice and sorrow.